Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you today about the Olight Javelot, the newest offering from Olight. Only came out about a month and a half or 2 months ago. This is touted by Olight to be a thrower, so its designated purpose is really to put light out far using sort of a laser beam sort of focused light coming out of this cone. The flashlight itself is beautifully constructed. It's got that latest matte finish that Olight's using on its more tactical flashlights. They do talk about the purpose being possibly a tactical purpose on this flashlight. It does in fact have that tail switch that's become famous now. The new design tail switch is beautiful. The two-stage trigger is very nice. You can actually feel that first stage and then really push through to get that higher value if you need to. But it also has a side switch, so a little reminiscent of the Warrior 3 series with its tail switch and the front side switch. This flashlight, despite its good construction, and I appreciate Olight for its customer service, they're an excellent company. The first time out of the box for me, turning it on, I'm a little underwhelmed. It operates off of the same battery as these other mid-size flashlights from Olight, the 21700 battery, 5000 milliampere, running 3.6 volts. You would expect the power coming out of this flashlight to be comparable to all of those, and to my mind, it just is not. Okay, the one that I want to compare it to the most at the end of this day is the Warrior X4, which was only developed about 6 months ago, and I've been using that Warrior X4 for work on a daily basis now, and it's excellent. It has that two-stage tail switch. It lacks that front switch. It's really designated to be nothing but a tactical light, kept simple with a high and a low setting through that tail switch. The other examples that I've got here is of the Seeker Pro 4. And of course, I've got that Warrior 3. It's not a Warrior 3S, it's an older Warrior 3 without the sensor in it. And just as a comparison basis, of course, a Warrior X3 sitting here as well. So why I'm underwhelmed as I pull this out of the box. It is beautiful, you turn it on, and that's where the love ends for me. This flashlight's putting out only 1350 lumens, which is a big number. It may sound impressive, but when you compare it to the 2600 lumens of the Warrior X4, you're essentially talking twice as many lumens out of a package that is comparable in size. And then, of course, you get up into the insane numbers that the Seeker 4 Pro throws out is 4600 lumens, so way higher on that. But this is a floodlight. This is designed to light up an entire room and not reach out too far. So the candela on this is really only about 20,000 candela. The Warrior X4 is sort of a happy medium with its 99,000 candela. So a very impressive spot on that. Absolutely blinding spot with a very nice spill around it. The Javelot wants to concentrate on that spot. It does have a corona we'll talk about in a second, but the spot itself gets you 134,000 candela, so versus the 99,000 of that Warrior. So it is a much more restricted, much more focused beam. It'll reach out there further. Obviously, a lot more candela, a lot more light power within that spot, but running off of a lumen level, which is half of this flashlight and a third of this flashlight. And the reason that disappoints me is because I find myself with a flashlight like this, on the extreme end of reaching out, it's only really got the one stated purpose. It can reach out. That's all it can do. You can't really use this as well. You can use anything for anything, but you can't use it as well as some of these other flashlights for lighting up a room, for example, even a large room. The reason being that you need to run it on its maximum level for that spill to have any kind of an impact on the room that you're in. So especially if you're reaching out past a few feet and you're not getting any bounce back off of that focused beam off of the walls and reflecting around the room, then you really aren't getting very spectacular results out of that spill. It's not really doing anything for you. If they had somehow been able to pump up the lumen level for this, then that spill would have more value, and you could operate the flashlight on a lower intensity setting when you're indoors and using it for a room. So we're going to get that. We'll see the examples of this in low level light and in the dark. We'll take it outside too and show you what the range is on this. But that was my first thought, is that I don't know why, as the technology has progressed and gotten better, and the flashlights constantly get better with Olight. Every iteration, every generation is better than the last. It's got more lumens, it's got better runtime, it's got better buttons, more functionality. Why it feels like this is a step back in power, like they've actually gone back to a previous time when we couldn't get as much power out of a battery of this size. Now, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an electrician, I don't know how the insides of these things work. I'm just giving you my perspective as I pull it out of the box and turn it on. Having used any of these other flashlights, I feel like it's underpowered and it only has one stated purpose, and that's to reach out. And unless you're going to be walking around looking for things hundreds of meters away, you might as well not have it, is essentially what I'm going to get to. So before we get into actually looking at what the lights look like, the other thing that I wasn't particularly impressed with was the holster. Olight has gone away from making fabric holsters like the one for the X3 and the Warrior X3, of course, and the Warrior 3. So they've gone sort of away from these fabric holsters and they've gone more towards these polymer holsters, which is fantastic. The polymer holster for the Warrior X4 is just great. It snaps in there from the bottom up, and it won't come out. It won't come out at all. The holster for the Seeker 4 Pro, of course, I've got this guy way over here. This was another polymer holster they came out with, and it's nice. It goes onto your belt, of course, snaps in there pretty good. So essentially these wings have to spread out to accommodate the base of the flashlight getting in. So there's some friction on the way in there, and once it locks in, it's in there and I can't get it out. I have to pull on it and defeat those wings to get the thing to come out. And even then, it's still got some friction halfway on the way out. So it's a positive lock. It keeps that flashlight locked in there. So by comparison, the Javelot, the holster looks similar to that of the Seeker 4 Pro. Okay, it's got sort of a wing thing going on there. It's got the belt loop on the back. The flashlight goes in and sits essentially, and there's really not much keeping it in there. It doesn't want to actually stay in there. So there's no positive lockup. There's a little bit of a friction lock at the bottom, and I think that's just from the head making contact with the polymer at the top here. It's sort of spreading that just a tiny little bit. Now you do have the option, of course, of putting the flashlight in backwards. If you were to put it in backwards and you're displaying, barcodes and stuff on the front, and you're putting the button in the back, the side switch, it does tend to lock in a little bit there. There are nubs on the inside, but and there is some positive lockup there. Although once you've defeated it, it just wants to slide right out. My only issue with that, of course, I don't have the long-term use, but I feel like it's going to buff or mar the sides of the housing for the side switch and the holster itself. So I'm not sure that it's designed to do that. I think they've got those side nubs in here to capture the ribs on the flashlight, but they just haven't. It's just not done well enough, that's all. Flashlight does come with a belt clip. I don't see the point of a belt clip on a flashlight with a head this wide. Personally, I wouldn't use it, but this would accommodate the belt clip. Of course, if you were putting it in with the belt clip on and you had the button forward, that belt clip would have to be on the same size as the button, the same side. So that brings me into my second sort of qualm with regard to this holster. They do try to sell this flashlight off as being a somewhat tactical flashlight where you can pull it out and use it with the push of a quick button without having to go through modes. The holster should accommodate that too. So where we look at the holster for the Warrior X4, again, beautiful flashlight, great holster. Looking at the back side, you can see that the holster is narrower at the top, okay, whereas this one flares out at the top. And I'll show you that the one on the Seeker also flares out even more at the top. It's an even wider holster, okay, the belt clip part. So there's an issue that I take with that, especially when you're describing a tactical flashlight, is it's not going to fit in MOLLE, okay? So for example, I've got my vest here, and it's got some MOLLE on the front, okay? These straps they're just your standard MOLLE straps, okay, that you're going to see on any vest or bag or anything like that. And due to the narrower belt part on that, the Warrior X4 holster will fit through 2 loops of moly. It doesn't clip onto the bottom one. Olight, if you're paying attention, I sure wish you had made that a ½ inch longer so it would clip onto there, but it holds it secure. It might come out of that second piece, but it won't come out of the top piece because of the hook. Okay, so it's in there. With the holster from the Javelot, if you try sliding that into a piece of moly, you're going to find that as you go down, you're not even going to get into that second piece of moly really, but it won't even make it all the way to the top piece because of that widened area at the top where the belt loop is. So it's really just made for a belt. I wish they had had a little bit of foresight to think that, you know, if it looks like a tactical flashlight and it quacks like a tactical flashlight, then maybe it's going to walk like a tactical flashlight and they should put it on a tactical vest. So these are a couple of the issues that I have with that flashlight. I'm going to turn the lights down now, and I'm just going to show you what the beam shots are and show you on the indoor setting, and then we'll get to the outdoor and show you the range. Let's get these lights down. Okay, so we're back now. We're sitting in a somewhat obscure room. Okay, just to show you some of what these lights can do. So, you know what, I'm gonna go with my everyday carry, my little favorite here. This is my Warrior Mini 3. Okay, this would be there's the moonlight mode. That's the low mode, okay? So I can actually utilize this low mode on the inside of a room. If I put it up to medium, it's gonna light up. You see I'm pointing at the wall here. It's got a fairly focused beam. This guy's got a pretty good reach for an EDC little pocket carry flashlight. It reaches out pretty darn good. It's got about at this distance from the table to the wall, maybe an 8-inch or maybe a 10 to 12 inch focused beam, okay? But I can clearly see the plant here, okay? As I'm pointing at the wall, I can see the edges of this plant. All right, so that's on medium. I'm not gonna take these flashlights up to maximum. It's just gonna wash out the camera. So with that Warrior 3, for example, okay, same thing. Let's start at the the moonlight mode. Okay, I've got a beam profile similar to that of the Warrior Mini 3. Let's go medium, this is low and up to medium. So medium, you're getting bright there, right? It's nice. It's a usable amount of light. I can shine this across this 20-foot long room and see something on the other end. And of course, it is lighting up that tree pretty good, but I am getting some bounce back from that wall, right? So it's going to be bouncing across the room. It's going to be hitting that tree. So that's the Warrior Mini 3, or the Warrior 3 rather. The Warrior X4, this is my new love. This is the half press on the back, okay? So a much more focused beam than both those other ones. It's only in at about 4 inches. So whereas that Warrior 3 only supposedly has a 300 meter, 23,000 candela beam profile, this one you're getting more into that 630 meter is what it's rated at, and that 99,000 candela. But of course not at this intensity. This is only the low press on that back switch. Okay. Not getting a lot on that tree because our corona is not half as big, right? And then we're going to get into the Javelot finally. So with the Javelot, here's part of my issue with it. Half press on the tail switch, it's the low setting. It's not the medium setting. All these other flashlights that have that option have a tail switch and a side switch. The tail switch is primary, or the half press is a medium. On this one, they decided to make it a low. It's essentially not a usable amount of light. There's really nothing I can do with this. Despite that wide corona, I'm not seeing this tree at all. And in that hot spot, of course, is going to be tiny because this is a reacher. It's made for reaching out there, but it's not having any impact on the rest of the room with that half press. So the half press is almost useless. Like if you were going to make that half press, it should have been like the Warrior X3, where the half press will light up enough for you to use it indoors without blinding yourself or other people, but lighting everything up. Of course, the full press takes you into an absolutely blinding turbo. So let's look at what the medium looks like on this flashlight then. We're going to start with the moonlight mode. There's the low. That's the same as our tail switch half press was. And there's our medium. So that would be the comparable to the Warrior X4. So I'm going to bring that guy up again, the Warrior X4, and put it on medium on that tail switch. And look at how much brighter that is. It's washing the other one right out, okay? Yeah, I've got the little dot left in there, but it's washing the corona right out. It's got a wider corona, but it's actually doing something useful with it, okay? Where I can actually see things in that corona, whereas if I bring this down and I'm still in that medium and I had to access it using the side switch as opposed to the the low from the tail switch, that corona is just not as useful. Okay, if I bring these two flashlights out at the same time and I half press that tail switch on the Javelot and I half press the tail switch on the Warrior, you stop knowing that the Javelot is even turned on. Okay, so this is my issue with it. So if we just want to demonstrate the turbo for a quick second. If I turn it all the way up, okay, yeah, it's like looking at the sun in the middle of that beam, but even then, okay, on the half press, you can still see the added light of that Warrior X4 in that corona. Okay, you can still see that moving around inside that beam. That's not the focus part. Okay, whereas on turbo, it's going to completely wash out that Javelot. It's just gone. So that's why I'm underwhelmed with this. Okay, so having gotten the lights back on again, that's why I just said it, I'm underwhelmed with this flashlight, just taking it out of the box and turning it on. Basically two issues. One, why couldn't the lumen level have been higher? I know it's a focused beam, but it could have focused more lumens into that focused beam. But it's only focusing half as many lumens as this guy can put out. And ironically, fewer lumens by 300 or 400 than the Warrior Mini 3. The Warrior Mini 3 is rated for 1750 lumens, whereas this much larger flashlight with this bigger head and everything is only rated for 1300. So yeah, it's gonna reach out further, obviously, but ironically, this is just putting out more light. It's just not focused the same way. They should have been able to get the lumen level up on it, have that focus beam reach out even further for a purpose-driven thrower that really only has one use. This is only putting out supposedly another 100 meters or so over the Warrior X4. The Javelot's rated for 730 meters. The X4 is rated for 630 meters, so 100 meters further, and there's very little use to that. You're pretty far away there for your eyes. But for any purpose within that, it's just not meeting. So that was my first problem with it, is the intensity, and second is the programming on that tail switch. I know you can change it to tactical mode. That's not going to change. That's not relevant to this particular argument. For the half press, it should have been a medium, just like every other iteration of flashlight with a front mount, a front side switch and a tail switch. It should have been a medium. Here with the lights on, you can barely even see that the middle portion of it is even showing up, let alone the corona at all. Okay, it should have been up into this medium, which is what that is. At least you'd know the flashlight is actually turned on when the lights are on. So we will go outside. I'll show you the beam outside in the trees and the hills. But that's pretty much putting an end to this. I'll go back to, again, the holster issue for me was an issue where I'm just not seeing the use of it. Yeah, it's a belt holster, but you know, with these fabric holsters, Olight knew that when they built tactical flashlights and put fabric holsters, they wanted them to be able to accommodate MOLLE. They made it on purpose that way so that you could put it through MOLLE and clip it. And with the Warrior X4, they've done an okay job with it. It doesn't clip that well, but it does fit through it. It hasn't come off on me ever. But with this one, it just doesn't go in all the way. It widens out at the top, much like that Seeker 4 Pro. Not designed for MOLLE at all. And it wouldn't be hard to do so. All they had to do was make it narrow, a little longer. It would go through 2 strips and you'd be good to go. So I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see you outside in the dark a little later and show you what the beam profile looks like. Okay, so just to put this into perspective, here's my field and my trees to look at. So looking at this first hill here, okay, that's going to be about 50 meters away to that little hill. And then over to the far end of the bigger hill, probably in the 100 meter range, right around there. The trees beyond that, we're probably going to be doubling to about maybe 200 meters to the trees right in the center of the image there. And then the very far end trees would probably get out to about 500 meters to the trees this side of the end of the field. As we go to the very end of the field out there, probably looking at almost a kilometer. So that'll just get some distance perspective here. Okay, so here we are looking at our sort of quasi darkish night here. Camera's doing a bit of a job, doing the night vision thing and making it look a little brighter out than it actually is. Like over here, this blue skyline
I really can't see very much the skyline in reality here. So I'm just going to show you the beam shots a little bit. All right, here comes the Javelot. All right, the first thing I want to show is that that half press on the tail switch. Okay, just to show what the low setting essentially is, that half press, and making me wonder why they chose to go with the low setting. It's a useless amount of light for outdoor use. Okay, indoors and dark bedroom, yeah, the low can get you by, but that's where that front switch might have been handier. Okay, so I can see that hill probably around 50 meters away. That's that first hill we looked at. Okay, we're getting into that second hill here. Really can't very much see that second hill over there. Okay, barely showing up at all, and that's only 100 meters away or so. So that low setting is pretty much useless. I'll turn that off. Let's get the medium setting, which I've pre-programmed into the front switch here. So that's the medium setting. Okay, so that would have been the usable amount of low light that you want to use outdoors without going to high or turbo. Okay, that should have been the setting on that half press of the tail switch. There's that hill at 50 meters. Okay, bright spot right in the middle, not much of a flood. Okay, look at the grass out in front of me here, is not very much of a flood. It really is only good as a thrower. Okay, let's go over to that second hill. Second hill is about 100 meters away, still doing pretty good with that medium. Okay, again, should have been that lower setting on the tail switch. We get into the trees over there, just a tiny little bit of rainfall tonight, and you really can't see those trees over there. So you got about 100 meters with that medium setting. It's not doing much of anything at all for those trees. Okay, I can't see the light reflecting off those trees at all. All right, and we're gonna go to the high setting. Okay, full press on the back tail switch. That should be the high setting. Yeah, so there's that high setting, of turbo essentially. Okay, full press on the tail switch. There's that light shining off that 50 meter. There it is, shining off the 100 meter hill over there. Pretty clearly you can see the trees beyond it. As we go further, you can see the trees down in the 200 meter range over there. You can still see the light shining off of those trees. Okay, as we get further away, the camera is doing more for showing that this light is hitting those trees than reality is. Okay, the camera's embellishing this a little bit. We get into that 300 meter range, it's kind of useless. Okay, the naked eye, I can kind of see that I can't really see those trees over there at all. Okay, so we're gonna put this guy away. We're gonna bring up the Warrior X4. Warrior X4 on the half press, because this doesn't have multi-levels, it only has the two. The half press, okay, goes right into that medium, let's call it, okay, because it's comparably medium to the other one, but that would be the low setting on the Warrior X4. Let's go over to the hill. Okay, still see clearly the hill with the low setting. Again, we saw that with the Javelot. Go beyond the hill, can't quite reach those trees over there. Okay, so the trees at that 200 meter 250 meter range, can't quite make out those trees over there. Okay, you can see them already without the light on it at all. The light doesn't really do very much for shining up those trees. Okay, if we go into the full press, all right, this is where things get impressive. Full press on the tail switch. Okay, clearly see every little thing about that first hill at 50 meters. Get into 100 meters, it's still nice and clear. Okay, we'll go beyond 100 meters. I can actually still see those trees over there a little tiny bit. Okay, at the 150, let's say maybe even 200 range. Okay, but the bottom line is I can at least see those trees over there as well as I can with that Javelot. Okay, and that's kind of my point here. Yeah, you can see that the spot is larger. It's not as focused a beam. Okay, there is a larger spot. There's obviously a lot more flood. You can see this grass out in front of me a lot better. Okay, but if we end up going back to the Javelot and pop that on maximum, am I really seeing those trees out there any better with the Javelot than I am with that Warrior X4? Okay, I guess the point is, the reason is the Warrior X4 is putting out twice as many lumens. Okay, and yeah, the beam isn't as focused, but because it has twice as many lumens, it has that wider beam profile, has more of a use at a distance. Okay, and a lot more use when much closer, like tons more use. So that's my problem with the Javelot. Here's that Warrior X4 again, just showing you guys a Warrior X4. Totally useful on the low setting. It's got nice on the half press, nice usable light. Okay, if you don't want to blind yourself or other things, if you don't want that light bouncing off things indoors. And the half press on the Javelot is just completely useless. Okay, and programmed into the tails, the front switch. This is the medium, so really Olight, I'm sorry, you guys, you could have put twice as many lumens into this thing and that spot would have really meant something, okay? But as it is, that spot is essentially just making it equal to the Warrior with not as much usable light in the peripheral. And I'm going to kind of leave the night shots at that.